Welcome to the next part of the training. Now in this section, we're actually going to use that new VisionSuite component inside the Q-SYS Designer software and open up VisionSuite Designer. Now, this is always going to be the first step in any new VisionSuite system. You're always going to build the room first. So it doesn't matter if you're a consultant or a programmer, you're going to put on your designer hat and we're going to get ready to design the new room in 3D. Remember that VisionSuite Designer is inside Q-SYS Designer. So before you go any further, make sure you've got the latest version of Q-SYS Designer installed, and also make sure you've got Q-SYS Level 0 certification, which is a course that introduces you to how to basically use that software. And then we're going to open it up. Okay, now here we are in Q-SYS Designer. So all we're going to do right now is use the new VisionSuite component. We're not actually going to worry about our audio or our video routing. We'll get onto that later during the deployment section of this training. So right now, you just want to go to the video section, video components, and you want to drag in the VisionSuite component. And once you've dragged it in, just double click. And it's going to give you this little message saying to modify your design, emulate or save to core and run. So we can just go to File, press Emulate, and then we can get to work in the software. Now, I'm going to close some of my designer panes here. Like I'm going to close the inventory for now. And instead, we're going to completely see VisionSuite Designer here. Okay. If you want to, you can also right click on this tab and you can click Float. And it's going to make that in a separate window, which you can then maximize. Okay. So let's have a look at what we've got here. And obviously right in the middle, we've got a 3D view, and this is where we're going to build our room. We're going to be adding cameras, we're going to be adding microphones, and basically making a digital twin of the room that we're actually working in. Now, you can get around this just by clicking and dragging. So if you click and then drag, you're going to be panning around whatever is centered in that view. Now, right now, this is what we call the origin, where these three lines cross over. And that's centered. But if you hold the Shift key, it's going to pan around instead. So with this, you can very easily start to get around. You can also scroll to zoom in and out. Okay, if you scroll, I'm doing 2 fingers on the trackpad, but of course you can do this on a mouse as well. So we've got click and drag to orbit around the center point. We can hold Shift to pan our view around. And we can scroll to zoom in and out, okay? So just spend a minute getting kind of comfortable with that. Just play around with that. Make sure you're really comfortable just moving around, zooming in on things. For example, I can zoom in here where it says room 1. I can pan over to the origin here. I can zoom out. I can orbit around. Just spend a few minutes getting really comfortable with that basic navigation. Now, you can also see in the top right-hand corner, we've got these 3 colored lines, X, Y, and Z. This is just referring to the 3 dimensions of this room, okay? And you can see that as we move these around, these change up here as well, so we can see kind of the view that we're looking at the room from. And if we ever get lost, if we ever get into some weird situation, you know, where we're zoomed in on something too much like that maybe, you can just click on any of these to reset the view from that point. So if you click on Z, for example, it's just going to go top down and then we can zoom out. If we click on X, it's going to look at it from the side. And if we click Y, it's going to look at it from the other side. So you can basically think of X, Y, and Z, or Z, depending on where you're from, of course, as the 3 dimensions of the room. Now, the Z axis, this is always height, okay? So if we're moving in the Z axis, we're moving up and down. If we click on Z, we're looking from the top. And then X and Y are just one side or the other side. So you could think of X and Y as front to back and left to right. And they're kind of interchangeable depending on how you orient your room. But that's what we have there. We have the 2 side axes and we also have the vertical axis. Okay, so now you're comfortable moving around the 3D view. Let's talk about the other panels that we have here in VisionSuite Designer. Starting with this left-hand panel, which is where everything that makes up our room is kept organized. So that starts off with the floor. Okay, because you might have a floor containing your room, and you can see that if we expand that, we've got a room in there, and we can add some things to that. We'll get into that later on. We've then got our zones, and then we've got our inventory, and this is where we have physical devices that make up the system. Things like our VisionSuite accelerator, things like microphones, cameras, and also markers. Then we have furniture, so we can add tables and chairs and displays to really flesh out that 3D room and give us a lot of context for how big things are, where things are, and the kind of shots we might want to set up. Then on the right-hand side, we have the inspector, and this is where you can edit the properties of pretty much anything in the system. So if we click on our room, for example, we've got a load of parameters for the room. And if we were to add, I don't know, let's say we add a chair here, and we select that chair, we've then got the chair's position, rotation, and scale. Now, if you want to focus on just the 3D view, you can also hide these panels like that, and you can get it to just the 3D view very, very easily, or you can bring those back just by clicking here. And remember, if you want to dock this panel back into the rest of Q-SYS Designer, you can just right-click on this tab here where it says VisionSuite, and we can move to the main document group, and now it's just another window inside the Q-SYS Designer software, and we can use it with all of the normal Q-SYS things open as well.